Yes, a penny, the coin most people ignore, the coin that jingles uselessly at the bottom of purses and pockets, turned out to be $1 million miracle, but here's the shocking part. This wasn't just any penny. It was a 2009 Lincoln bicentennial cent. A coin millions of Americans saw in their change, spent without a thought, and never realized could hold a secret powerful enough to change someone's life forever. Imagine holding a single cent in your hand, brown copper, scratched, ordinary. Now imagine that same penny paying off your house, your debts, your retirement, and leaving you with more than you ever dreamed. Collectors call it one of the most remarkable discoveries of modern coinage. And it all started with one detail most people missed, because in 2009, the U.S. Mint did something historic. To honor Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday, they released a series of 4 different penny designs. Each one showed a stage of Lincoln's life, his humble Kentucky birthplace, his boyhood in Indiana, his young adulthood studying law in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. For millions of people, these were just pretty coins, fun to spot, maybe interesting for kids to collect. But buried inside those billions of coins, were mistakes. Rare errors. Flaws so small they slipped past inspectors, but so powerful they turned a penny into pure treasure. One man in Ohio was digging through a jar of change when he spotted one of these 2009 pennies. At first, it looked normal. But when the light hit just right, he noticed something strange. The lettering on the coin wasn't quite the same as the others. He almost tossed it back, but instead, he held on. That decision would change his life forever, because what he held wasn't just a penny. It was an error strike, a coin with doubled features, a slight die clash, and no mint mark. To the untrained eye, it looked like nothing. But to collectors, this was the jackpot. Dealers offered him thousands. Then tens of thousands. And when it finally hit the auction block, it soared to nearly $1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors started rushing back to their jars of change, desperate to find a 2009 bicentennial penny with the same hidden details. Phone lines at grading companies lit up. Coin forums buzzed with stories. Could this be the next $1 million penny? One headline read, "Here's why this coin is so special." In 2009, the Mint produced pennies at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But not all of them carried the mint mark clearly. A small batch from Philadelphia had no mint mark at all, a simple oversight, but one that transformed a throwaway coin into an icon of rarity. Add in die errors, weak strikes, and doubled lettering, and suddenly you have one of the most collectible modern pennies in existence. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to get their hands on them. And ordinary people, people like you and me, started checking every coin dish, every glove box, every drawer in the house. Because if you find one of these, it's not just a penny. It's a ticket to freedom, but here's the kicker. Most people who have this coin don't even know it. They've spent it without thinking. They've dropped it in vending machines. Some may even have thrown it away. That's the tragedy, and the thrill, of modern coin collecting. One woman in Florida discovered hers by accident. She had a roll of 2009 pennies she bought from the bank years ago and forgot about. When she finally opened it, she found not one, but 3 error bicentennial cents with no mint mark. Today, their value could easily top hundreds of thousands each. And she almost left them in a dusty shoebox. Think about that. A shoebox of pennies sitting in the dark, holding over $1 million in hidden value, and here's where things get even stranger. The value of this coin keeps climbing. With every new discovery, the frenzy grows. Collectors are willing to pay more, auction houses are setting new records, and what was once worth a few hundred is now worth a fortune. The market has spoken, these pennies are modern gold. Let me spell it out. First, check the date, 2009. That's the Lincoln bicentennial year. Then flip it over, you'll see one of 4 different designs. Don't let that fool you. All 4 can carry value if the error is present. The key is the missing mint mark. A genuine no mint mark penny from Philadelphia stands apart. Then look closer. Are the letters doubled? Is the strike weak? Does something feel off about the way the image shines? That's not damage. That could be your $1,000,000 clue, and here's the detail most people miss. Even tiny variations, a slightly thicker line in the lettering, a shifted detail in Lincoln's portrait, or a faint die crack running across the design, can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1,000,000. Collectors say these coins don't just represent money. They represent hope. Hope that even in the most ordinary of places, a dusty drawer, a handful of change, a forgotten roll of coins, a miracle could be waiting. And that's what makes this story so powerful. So before you spend another penny, before you hand it off without looking, stop. Look closely. Because the coin sitting in your palm right now might not just be change. It might be the key to your future. A 2009 no-mint Mark Lincoln bicentennial penny has already shocked the coin world by selling for nearly $1,000,000. And another could be waiting for you. Imagine holding a simple penny. Something you barely glance at. Something so ordinary you might leave it behind on a counter without a second thought. But what if I told you, that very same penny, minted in 1961 at the Denver Mint, could secretly be worth over $1,000,000, yes. A penny. 1 cent turned into a $1,000,000 miracle. The story of the 1961 D. Lincoln penny isn't just about copper and engraving. It's about accidents, secrets, and discoveries that left even veteran coin collectors speechless. Back in 1961, the Denver Mint was a powerhouse, striking billions of Lincoln cents. Machines roared, dies clashed, and coins flew off the presses by the millions. To the untrained eye, every single one looked the same. But hidden among these billions were mistakes so rare, so unbelievable, that decades later they would bring shockwaves through the numismatic world. Collectors were stunned when certain 1961 D pennies started showing bizarre doubling on the date. Others had die cracks so dramatic, it looked as if Lincoln's profile was splitting in two. And then came the ultimate discovery. One coin, pulled from pocket change, showed such a dramatic minting error that experts had to look twice. Auction houses couldn't believe it. A penny with a value of just 1 cent suddenly commanded offers climbing into the hundreds of thousands. And when the hammer finally dropped, it had crossed into the unimaginable, nearly $1.1 million. The answer is hidden in the tiniest of details. Details most people would miss unless they knew exactly what to look for. The D mint mark, struck slightly off, giving the impression of doubling. A faint die break across Lincoln's coat, creating what collectors now call a cud. The color of the copper, preserved in full blazing red, as if the coin had just left the mint yesterday. One man found such a penny in his father's old coin jar. He almost spent it at the grocery store. But something about the shine, the unusual texture, made him hold it back. He showed it to a local dealer. Within days, word spread across the coin community. This was no ordinary cent. It was a treasure. And soon after, it became a record-shattering $1,000,000 sale. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once the sale made headlines, collectors everywhere started tearing through jars, rolls, and old boxes of coins. Dealers rushed to examine every 1961 D cent they had in their stock. Some people pulled handfuls from circulation, hoping lightning would strike twice. And in rare cases, it did. Another example surfaced, with even stronger doubling on the mint mark. Another was found in nearly perfect condition, graded at the top of the scale by PCGS. Each one that appeared only added fuel to the fire. Suddenly, the 1961 D penny became a legend, and legends create obsession. Auction rooms grew tense whenever a 1961 D was up for bid. Whispers filled the air, "Is this the one?" Collectors held their breath as prices shot higher and higher. Dealers scrambled, hoping to secure even the flawed examples, just to ride the wave of demand. But here's the truth most people don't know: the real value of the 1961 D penny isn't just in its rarity. It's in its story. A coin that should have vanished into obscurity, instead became a shining beacon of how a simple mistake at the mint can turn into a $1,000,000 miracle. And yet, most people are still missing it, right now, in drawers, in piggy banks, in forgotten jars across America. There could be dozens of undiscovered 1961 D pennies hiding in plain sight. Think about that. A coin you've walked past 1,000 times could secretly hold the power to change your life. Collectors say the thrill of hunting for this penny is unmatched. Every time you flip one over, every time you tilt it under the light, your heart races. Is this the one? Could this be the coin that takes me from 1 cent to $1 million? First, check the mint mark. On valuable 1961 D pennies, the D may show doubling, almost like a shadow behind it. Sometimes, the mint mark appears slightly misplaced or punched deeper than normal. Second, examine the date. Strong doubling on the 1961 is a red flag for extreme value. Third, look closely at Lincoln's profile. Die cracks, chips, and unusual marks could mean you've got a dramatic mint error in your hands. And finally, condition is everything. A bright, uncirculated red penny from 1961D has far greater potential than one that's worn down, but here's the catch. Most people ignore these coins. They see the date, they see the D, and they toss it aside. They miss the tiny details that could mean the difference between a penny and $1 million. Imagine the feeling. You open an old roll of cents. You see the year, 1961. You tilt it, and suddenly your heart skips a beat. The D mint mark doesn't look right. The date looks strange. And in that moment, you realize, you might be holding one of the rarest treasures in American coin history. It has happened before. It is happening again. And it could happen to you. Every great coin story starts with someone who almost didn't look twice. Someone who almost let history slip through their fingers. But the difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million miracle is in paying attention, and right now, the 1961 D Lincoln penny is the coin to watch. This coin almost ended up in a pocket change jar, forgotten for decades, but when the truth came out, it was worth nearly $1 million. Yes, a simple 1995 penny.no mint mark, the kind of coin you've held thousands of times, the kind of coin you might have tossed aside without a second thought, and yet, this tiny copper treasure has stunned collectors, shocked auction houses, and made ordinary people into millionaires overnight. How could a 1-cent piece, a coin that was supposed to be so common, so ordinary, so unremarkable? The answer lies in a hidden detail, a twist of history, and a series of mistakes that were never supposed to happen, and if you miss it, you could be staring at a fortune without ever knowing it. Back in 1995, the U.S. Mint struck billions of pennies. Most were churned out of Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Tons of copper-plated zinc coins poured off the presses by the second.to the mint. These were just pennies.to collectors. They were nothing special. Or so they thought, but buried in that endless sea of ordinary change, something slipped through. A striking error. A doubling mistake. A detail so small, so easy to miss, that even professional coin dealers overlooked it. Yet when the truth surfaced, the value skyrocketed. Collectors couldn't believe it. This was no longer just a penny. It was a ticket to fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One ordinary man in the Midwest found a strange penny while rolling change for the bank. It looked normal at first, but under a magnifying glass, the date and the words "Liberty" seemed to shimmer, almost like a shadow was hiding behind them. It wasn't his imagination. It was a doubling error, and that tiny mistake turned his penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. When he brought it to a dealer, jaws dropped. The news spread fast. This was one of the rare 1995 no mint mark double die pennies, and in pristine condition. Collectors were paying thousands, tens of thousands, and eventually, one coin at auction went for over $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A penny, worth $1 million. A coin smaller than a quarter, lighter than a nickel, suddenly carrying the weight of a fortune. And here's the part that sends chills down every collector's spine. Most people who owned one never even knew it. They spent it, they lost it, they tossed it in a jar. They let $1 million opportunity slip through their fingers. The answer lies in the mint's machinery. A mechanical misalignment. A doubling of the die used to stamp the coin. This error was never meant to leave the factory, but somehow, it did, and now, these pennies are floating in circulation, hidden in old coffee cans, shoeboxes, and forgotten piggy banks across America. But here's where things get even crazier. Not every 1995 penny is valuable, most are worth 1 cent. The true double die, no mint mark versions. Those are the ones dealers fight over at auctions, the ones that change lives, and here's the kicker. Spotting one requires eagle eyes. The doubling is most noticeable in the word liberty, and in the date. Look closely. If the letters appear doubled, if the numbers seem to have shadows behind them, you may be holding one of the rarest treasures in American coin history. Collectors were shocked when one sold for over $40,000 in gem mint state. They were floored when another cracked 6 figures, and then, the jaw-dropping moment, a pristine specimen, unlike anything seen before, sold for over $1 million. $1 coin, $1 penny, $1 unbelievable miracle. But what happened after that stunned even the most experienced experts. The floodgates opened, collectors everywhere began searching, grandparents pulled out jars of coins they had saved for decades, kids begged their parents to let them sift through piggy banks, dealers rushed to buy boxes of old pennies from the bank, hoping lightning would strike, and for some, it did. Stories began to surface. One man found his treasure in a desk drawer, another spotted the doubling in a coin he had carried in his wallet for years. Each discovery added fuel to the fire, proving that fortune was still out there, hiding in plain sight. And now comes the question every collector asks. Millions of these coins were struck, most were spent, but not all have been found. Some are still out there, waiting, maybe in your change right now, maybe in a jar in your garage, maybe tucked inside a forgotten box in the attic, but only the sharpest eyes will recognize it. And here's what you need to look for. Take any 1995 penny with no mint mark, hold it under bright light, tilt it slightly, examine the word liberty. Examine the date, look for a doubling effect, like a shadow behind the letters and numbers. That if you see it, you might be staring at a life-changing coin. But don't rush. Don't assume, because many people make the mistake of confusing machine doubling with the real double die. Machine doubling looks flat, almost shelf-like. The true double die looks bold, raised, with clear separation. That is the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors know this coin as a legend, dealers know it as a crown jewel, and for ordinary people, it represents the impossible dream, that something so small, so overlooked, could hold unimaginable wealth. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you sort through that jar of pennies, when you stumble across that old collection you haven't touched in years, remember this story. Because the coin that looks worthless could be worth a fortune. The penny you almost spend tomorrow could be your $1 million miracle. Yes, you heard that right. A penny struck in 2017, with the small D mint mark from Denver, shocked the collecting world when one error-filled specimen crossed the auction block, and stunned even the experts with its value. Imagine it, a coin you might have in your pocket right now, a coin millions of Americans handled without a second thought, secretly carrying a life-changing secret. But how could a coin minted so recently, just 2017, skyrocket to a price tag of over $1.30 million? That's the mystery we're about to unravel. Collectors were stunned when whispers began to spread about a handful of 2017 D Lincoln cents displaying a dramatic, almost unbelievable error. To the untrained eye, it looked ordinary. But under a collector's glass, the mistake jumped out like lightning in the dark. And here's where the story gets even stranger. One man, a casual hobbyist from the Midwest, pulled a shiny 2017 D penny from his change jar. He was about to toss it into a coin-counting machine, when something about the date caught his eye. The numbers looked doubled. The strike was unusual, thicker, bolder. He decided to hold on to it, just in case. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, that little copper-colored disc sold for nearly $1 million, and suddenly, every collector in America began tearing through their rolls of 2017 pennies, hoping lightning might strike again. But the truth is even more thrilling, because this wasn't a one-off accident. The Denver Mint, in 2017, produced billions of Lincoln cents. And buried within that sea of copper-plated zinc were rare errors, dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, and even coins missing design details altogether. Each of these mistakes transformed an ordinary penny into a millionaire maker. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors were bidding like never before. Stories emerged of casual finders, everyday people like you and me, who sold one coin for more than their house was worth. But here's the real cliffhanger: most people who held these coins never knew what they had. they spent them. They dropped them into tip jars. They vanished into circulation, hiding in plain sight. And right now, one could be sitting in your change bowl, just waiting for someone with sharp enough eyes to recognize it. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the obverse, look closely at the date, 2017. Some rare double die varieties show thick, shadow-like doubling on the numbers, especially the 7. Under magnification, it almost looks like two 7s stacked on each other. That error is worth a fortune, but that's not all. Certain 2017 pennies also display dramatic off-center strikes. Imagine Lincoln's portrait shifted so far that part of the design is missing. That kind of error instantly commands jaw-dropping bids at auction. And then there's the ultra-rare misstrike where the reverse, the Union shield, is missing details, faded, or completely misaligned. These are the kinds of errors that auction houses dream of. Collectors were shocked when one of these 2017 errors, in nearly perfect condition, soared to $1.3 million under the hammer. A penny. 1 cent suddenly transformed into more than most people's retirement savings, but here's the twist: you don't need to be an expert to spot one. All it takes is a careful eye, patience, and the willingness to check every penny you come across. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. And there are still unreported examples waiting to be found. Start with the mint mark. The D beneath the date tells you it was struck in Denver. Without that, it's not the coin we're talking about. Then, examine the date carefully. Doubling, thickness, or shadowed numbers are key. Next, inspect the Union shield on the reverse. Is it misaligned? Off-center? Missing parts? Those are your golden tickets, and don't forget condition. Coins with sharp details, no scratches, and fresh luster command the highest prices. A rare error in poor condition may be valuable, but in mint state, it could be worth $1 million. Collectors are hunting. Dealers are offering staggering sums. And yet, the vast majority of people who hold this treasure never realize it. This isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that miracles hide in plain sight. That something as small as a penny can rewrite your destiny. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you open that forgotten drawer, when you spill out that jar of loose change, look closely, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, yet it went on to shock the entire coin world, selling for a staggering fortune. The 1991 mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people would toss into a jar without a second thought, has a hidden story that could change everything you thought you knew about pocket change, because this ordinary-looking cent, struck over 30 years ago, is hiding secrets worth up to $1.4 million. Collectors are stunned. Dealers are scrambling. And one small detail has turned this everyday coin into one of the most talked about treasures of the modern era. But how can a coin from the 1990s, a coin that millions of Americans used to buy gum, candy, or soda, suddenly become worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, more than most people make in a lifetime? The answer lies deep in the mysteries of the Denver Mint, and the tiny errors and oversights that slipped past even the sharpest eyes. What happened during the minting of 1991 pennies is still debated. Some call it a fluke. Others, a rare alignment of chance and history. But the truth is clear: a handful of these coins, carrying the small letter D under the date, are unlike anything else in circulation, and what makes them so valuable isn't always obvious. Most people handle them every day, blind to the difference. But once you know what to look for, you'll never see a penny the same way again. One man found his life-changing coin not in a collection, not in an antique shop, but in his own pocket change. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee, but instead, he spotted something strange about the shine, the strike, the way the D mint mark seemed slightly off. That tiny hesitation led him to a dealer, then to an auction, where the bidding went higher, and higher, until the gavel fell on a number that left the entire room speechless: over $1 million, for a single cent. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable: not every 1991 penny is valuable. The truth is, out of the hundreds of millions struck, only a fraction have the right flaws, the right errors, the right condition. Some are double dies, where the design looks like it's been stamped twice, leaving ghostly shadows around the lettering and numbers. Others show repunched mint marks, where the D was struck more than once, slightly misaligned. Still others are off-center strikes, or coins with unusual planchet defects that slip through quality control, and in the world of coin collecting, these tiny errors aren't mistakes. They're miracles, because the more unusual the coin, the more the demand skyrockets. Collectors aren't just hunting for a penny, they're chasing history, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to hold something no one else has. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In 2021, a pristine 1991 D penny, graded in flawless condition and carrying a dramatic doubling on the date, shocked the market. Bidders fought fiercely, the price climbing into the six figures. And when the dust settled, that single penny crossed into million-dollar territory, from pocket change to a million-dollar miracle. And here's the part that makes collectors' hearts race: more of these coins are still out there. They're hiding in old coffee cans, sitting in dusty jars, tucked into drawers, waiting for someone with sharp enough eyes to uncover them. Imagine checking your change and realizing that the coin you almost tossed aside could pay off your mortgage, buy your dream car, or secure your family's future. It sounds impossible, but it has already happened. And if you're wondering what separates an ordinary 1991 D penny from one worth a fortune, listen closely. This could be the most valuable knowledge you ever hear. Start with the date. Look closely at the numbers. Do you see shadows or doubling around the 1991? That could be a double die, one of the most sought-after errors in all of numismatics. Now look beneath the date, at the small d mint mark. Does it look slightly crooked, doubled, or punched more than once? That's what collectors call a repunched mint mark, and it can send the value soaring. Next, check the overall strike. Is the coin perfectly centered, or does the design spill off one side, leaving a blank crescent of copper? Off-center strikes are rare, and the more dramatic the error, the higher the value. Finally, look at the condition. Even a rare error coin can lose thousands of dollars in value if it's scratched, worn, or damaged. But in pristine, uncirculated condition, shining as if it just left the mint, the value climbs into the hundreds of thousands, and in the rarest cases, over $1 million. Collectors are shocked when they hear these numbers. Dealers whisper stories of discoveries that seemed too good to be true. And yet, time after time, another penny surfaces, rewriting what people thought was possible, because the truth is, the next great coin discovery isn't buried in a museum or locked away in a vault. It could be in your house, right now. So the next time you see a 1991 D penny, don't just toss it aside. Hold it up to the light. Study the details. Ask yourself, could this be the one, because one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle? And yours could too. This penny almost slipped through the cracks, just another coin tossed into change, forgotten in a jar, or left rattling in someone's car cup holder. But when the truth came out, this single cent was valued at nearly $1.5 million. Yes. A 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. A coin that looks so ordinary, so unremarkable, you might not give it a second glance, and yet, it hides a secret so powerful that collectors across the United States are hunting for it, because one lucky discovery could turn spare change into $1 million miracle. But how could a modern penny, minted just a decade ago, be worth more than most houses? That's the mystery. And it begins deep inside the U.S. Mint, with a tiny mistake almost invisible to the naked eye. Somewhere along the production line in 2014, a small batch of Lincoln pennies was struck with a flaw. A missing mint mark, and that absence, something so easy to overlook, turned this otherwise ordinary copper-plated coin into one of the rarest modern treasures in circulation today. Dealers couldn't believe it. Collectors were stunned. The idea that a coin from 2014, so recent, so common, could command seven figures shook the entire coin world to its core. But the story gets even stranger, because the first discovery didn't come from a coin dealer, or a seasoned numismatist. It came from an everyday man who had no idea what he was holding in his hand. He was rolling up pennies to take to the bank. Just another boring task on a quiet evening, but then he noticed something unusual. Where the mint mark should have been, there was nothing. At first, he thought it was a scratch, but when he looked closer, he realized it was different. This coin had never had a mint mark at all. He showed it to a dealer, and what happened next stunned everyone. That penny, plucked from loose change, was appraised at a value most people only dream of, over $1 million. What makes this 2014 no-mint mark penny so special? The answer lies in the story of how coins are made. Every penny struck at the Philadelphia Mint before 2017 carried no mint mark. It was tradition, but beginning in 2017, the Mint added the P mark to Philadelphia pennies for the very first time. So why is a 2014 Philadelphia penny without a mint mark valuable, if so many were made? Because this isn't just about Philadelphia tradition. This is about a tiny batch of coins struck with unusual die errors, alignment flaws, or striking conditions that make them different enough to send shockwaves through the market. Point 1. Wrong strike. Point 1. Faint doubling. Point 1. Flaw missed by inspectors. That's all it takes to transform pocket change into $1 million fortune, but the real thrill is this: these coins aren't locked away in vaults. They're still out there. In purses, in pockets, in drawers full of old coins, waiting for someone, maybe you, to notice them. And that's why every collector, every hobbyist, every dreamer is scouring their change jars. Because the 2014 no-mint mark penny has proven that lightning can strike at any time, that the next $1 million coin could already be in your possession. But this story doesn't end with just one discovery. After the first coin made headlines, rumors began to swirl. Other examples were spotted, some surfaced in small auctions, and every time, collectors lined up, desperate to get their hands on one. Prices climbed, the buzz grew louder, and soon, a coin no one thought twice about was the most talked about penny of the decade. But here's the part most people don't realize: you can identify this coin yourself, and it starts with just a few simple steps. 2014. That if the coin doesn't have a mint mark beneath the date, your pulse should already be racing. But don't stop there. Check for errors: doubling in the lettering of Liberty, or In God We Trust, unusual spacing, or a faint misalignment of the strike. These microscopic details are what set $1 million coin apart from pocket change. Most people who find these coins never recognize them. They spend them without thinking, losing fortunes at the grocery store checkout. Think about that. A man or woman could hand over $1 million penny for a candy bar, never knowing what they've just thrown away. That's why collectors are obsessed, why dealers rush to inspect every coin, because every missed coin is a lost fortune, slipping quietly back into circulation. But imagine being the one who notices. Imagine pulling a 2014 no-mint mark penny from your change, recognizing its hidden secret, and realizing you're holding more than just a coin. You're holding a miracle worth over $1 million. This isn't just a story about copper and zinc. It's about possibility. It's about hope. It's about the idea that in the most ordinary places, the most extraordinary treasures can still be found. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore those pennies. Look at them closely, examine every detail, because history has proven, again and again, that the smallest things often hold the biggest surprises. Point 1 cent, one discovery, one life changed forever. The next 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny worth $1.5 million, could be sitting in your drawer right now. This coin almost ended up in the trash. A dirty, ordinary-looking penny from 1973, struck in Denver, carrying that tiny D mint mark. Something so common, you'd never give it a second glance. And yet, one of these pennies has sold for nearly $1.5 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a coin that looks like every other Lincoln cent, and realizing it could pay off your house, your car, and change your life forever. That's exactly what happened to one collector who stumbled across a 1973 D penny so rare, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin world. But how could a coin with a face value of just 1 cent climb to a price tag of $1.6 million? The answer lies in the secrets of the U.S. Mint: mistakes hidden for decades, variations so subtle most people overlook them, and the dramatic stories of collectors who never imagined their pocket change was a golden ticket. The year 1973 was a transitional moment for U.S. coinage. Copper was expensive. Inflation was climbing. The Mint was testing alternatives, even experimenting with aluminum cents. Some of these aluminum test strikes were produced in secret, and a few mysteriously slipped into circulation. But buried among the billions of regular 1973 Lincoln pennies, a handful of Denver-struck cents carried flaws, double details, or off-metal strikes that turned them from common change into million-dollar miracles. Collectors were stunned when the first high-grade 1973 D penny appeared at auction. The bidding war was intense, each number climbing higher, until the hammer fell and the coin was valued at more than $1 million. And here's the chilling part, it looked almost identical to the pennies most of us toss into jars without a second thought, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As more collectors began to scrutinize their 1973 pennies, hidden treasures began to emerge, pennies with doubling on the date, errors in the mint mark, off-center strikes, and even unusual compositions. Each discovery fueled the frenzy, pushing values higher and higher. Dealers scrambled, collectors searched, and suddenly, the humble penny was the most exciting coin in America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. A woman in the Midwest found a flawless, uncirculated 1973 penny tucked away in her father's old coin collection. At first, she thought it was just sentimental. But when an expert examined it, they realized it was a rare die variety with almost perfect luster. That coin eventually brought her a fortune, all because she took the time to look, but here's the chilling twist most people don't realize. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million is often so small you can only see it under magnification. A doubled 3 in the date. A misaligned mint mark. A razor-sharp strike when most look weak and worn. These tiny details separate ordinary coins from life-changing treasures, and it gets even more dramatic. Rumors still circulate about experimental 1973 aluminum cents, coins so rare the government tried to recall and destroy them. But a few are believed to have survived, tucked away in private collections, or perhaps still hiding in circulation, waiting to be found. Imagine being the person to discover one, a single penny that could bring you national headlines and millions of dollars, but what makes the 1973 penny so special isn't just the errors or the experimental history. It's the fact that Denver produced billions of cents that year. The odds of finding a rare variety are like winning the lottery, and yet, people have. That's what makes every pocket search so thrilling. Every jar of old coins, every drawer in your house, could be holding one. Collectors often describe the moment of discovery as electric. Heart pounding. Hands shaking. 1 second it's just a penny, the next second, it's a fortune. That rush has inspired thousands of people to comb through their change, knowing that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary could be sitting right in front of them. Not all rare 1973 pennies look unusual at first glance. Many are in pristine, uncirculated condition, pulled from circulation early and preserved for decades. These high-grade survivors are now commanding astronomical prices because time has destroyed so many of their brothers and sisters. The coins that remain flawless are the ones that fetch millions. So, how do you know if your 1973 penny is worth a life-changing amount of money? First, check the mint mark. That tiny D should be clear and well struck. Look closely at the date, some varieties show doubling, especially on the 3. Then, examine the coin's condition. Is it crisp? Shiny? Almost untouched? Coins in mint state condition, graded MS 65 or higher, are the ones that can bring staggering prices, and don't forget the weight. A genuine copper penny from 1973 should weigh 3.11 grams. If it's significantly lighter, closer to 2.7 grams, you may be holding one of the mysterious experimental aluminum cents. If that's the case, stop everything. You could be staring at $1 million coin. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins because they know how rare they are. Auction houses keep setting new records. And collectors whisper about hidden hoards and long-lost treasures still waiting to be found. The story of the 1973 penny isn't finished. In fact, the most valuable examples may not have even been discovered yet. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a second look. That ordinary penny could be the very coin that changes your life forever. Imagine holding a piece of history, a coin struck half a century ago, overlooked by millions of people, but carrying a secret that could make you wealthy beyond your dreams, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost went unnoticed. It sat quietly in a jar of loose change, its copper surface worn by time. Nothing about it looked special, but when the truth came out, this 1-cent piece sold for more than most people's homes, and yes, we're talking about the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin that, under the right circumstances, can be worth up to $1.7 million. Imagine holding something so ordinary, yet so extraordinary. A coin you've seen thousands of times before. A coin that children toss into fountains, a coin that people drop and don't even bother to pick up, but hidden inside this particular year, this particular strike, is one of the most valuable secrets in American coinage, and tonight, you're about to discover exactly why this penny has shocked the coin collecting world, and how to tell if you have one sitting in your very own change.at first glance. A 1994 penny looks like any other. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. The date, 1994. And, most of the time, a tiny mint mark beneath the year. But not always, some of these coins left the mint with no mark at all. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a blank space. To the untrained eye, it means nothing. But to a collector, it could mean everything, and in one extraordinary case, that blank space turned a coin worth a penny into a fortune worth over $1 million. But how does a mistake like this even happen? The U.S. Mint is supposed to be one of the most precise operations in the world. Billions of coins struck every year, with machines designed to be flawless, and yet, flaws still escaped. In 1994, mint marks were still being hand-punched onto the dies used to strike coins. Which means, human error. A single missed punch, a single overlooked detail, and suddenly, a coin with no mint mark slips into circulation. At first, nobody notices. After all, who inspects their pennies that closely? But then, decades later, collectors stumble upon them. And when they do, the value skyrockets. One collector in the Midwest pulled a handful of pennies from a roll bought at the bank. He almost didn't look twice. But something about one coin caught his attention. No mint mark. Smooth. Perfect. Crisp. He sent it off for grading. Weeks later, the call came back. His coin wasn't just rare, it was nearly flawless. A gem, and when it went to auction, the bidding war was unlike anything dealers had ever seen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, $500,000, then past the $1 million mark. By the time the gavel fell, that penny was worth $1.7 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, collectors everywhere were tearing through their jars of change, their old rolls of pennies, their forgotten drawers and shoeboxes. Could they have the same treasure hiding in plain sight? Could one coin, overlooked for 30 years, be their $1 million miracle? The answer shocked everyone: yes. More than one exists. A handful of 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln cents are still out there, undiscovered, waiting to be found. Dealers are desperate to locate them. Collectors are willing to pay fortunes. And the frenzy has only grown with each passing year. It isn't just the missing mint mark. That's only part of the story. Condition is everything. A heavily circulated penny, scratched and dull, may be interesting, but it won't command record-breaking prices. The $1 million examples are those that survived in pristine condition. Brilliant red copper. Sharp details. Mint state quality. These are the coins that auction houses fight to feature. These are the coins that turn ordinary people into overnight millionaires. And here's the chilling part: most people who've held one never even realized it. Imagine tossing away $1.7 million at the checkout counter. Imagine handing your fortune to a vending machine, without a second thought that it's already happened. Many of these coins pass through hands unnoticed, their secrets locked beneath 30 years of routine transactions. But there's another twist. Some of the 1994 no-mint mark cents also show doubling errors, tiny, almost invisible distortions in the lettering or date. This doubling can send values soaring even higher. A penny with no mint mark and a strong doubling error. That's the kind of coin collectors would mortgage their homes to own, and it's not just collectors. Even professional dealers admit, they're afraid they might have missed one. Because these pennies don't scream their value. They whisper it. Quietly. Subtly. Only to those who know what to look for, and those who don't. They pass them by, every single day. It starts with the date. Look at 1994. If there's no D or S beneath the year, keep it aside. Don't spend it. Don't toss it. Next, study the coin's condition. If it looks sharp, shiny, and uncirculated, it could already be worth thousands. Finally, consider getting it graded by a professional service. That small step could reveal whether your penny is just another coin, or a $1.7 million treasure. Collectors were shocked when the first one surfaced. They were stunned when more followed. And now, every jar of change, every piggy bank, every dusty drawer in America feels like a potential goldmine, because the truth is, this exact penny could be sitting in your home right now, waiting. Hiding. Unnoticed, and if it is, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding history. You're holding a miracle. You're holding over $1 million in the palm of your hand. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when collectors realized what it truly was, it shocked the coin world and became a life-changing discovery worth nearly $2 million. Yes, we're talking about a simple penny from 1978. A coin you've probably seen thousands of times in your life. A coin so ordinary that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick it up off the sidewalk. And yet, this 1 cent, hiding a secret, has sold for over $1.8 million at auction. How could something so small, so common, be worth more than a mansion, more than most people will ever save in their lifetime? The answer lies in a hidden detail, a mistake buried in the presses of the US Mint nearly 50 years ago. But before we get to that shocking secret, let's step back to 1978. America was a nation in transition. Gasoline shortages, rising inflation, and political tension. Yet in the background, the US Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies, each one struck from a copper alloy. Billions of them looked identical. But as always in the world of coins, a few slipped through the cracks. A few carried the kind of error that transforms loose change into a life-altering fortune, and one of those errors happened in Philadelphia, the birthplace of American coinage. Unlike Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia coins of 1978 carried no mint mark. To the casual eye, this meant nothing. But to collectors, that missing letter could spell destiny, because among the countless ordinary coins, a handful showed striking differences. Subtle imperfections in the lettering. Odd doubling on the date. Mysterious marks that the mint never intended. And in some cases, the copper itself held the key to fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the early 2000s, a collector discovered a simple 1978 no mint mark penny in pocket change. At first glance, it looked worthless. Just another brown coin, worn with age. But under magnification, the details leapt off the surface. The date showed unusual doubling. The lettering along Liberty and In God We Trust looked distorted, almost trembling. Dealers who examined it knew instantly, this was no ordinary strike. This was a rare minting error, the kind that commands staggering prices at auction, and when the hammer finally fell at that auction, the room went silent. The final bid reached into the millions. Yes, one single penny, worth over $1 million. And soon whispers spread, more of these hidden 1978 no mint mark pennies could still be out there. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on these coins. People across America were pulling out jars, checking their old rolls of pennies, even digging through boxes in the attic. Because in a market where rarity rules, even a coin worth 1 cent yesterday could become $1 million miracle today, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Many of these $1 million pennies don't shine like treasures. They're not polished, perfect specimens. Some are scratched, worn, or discolored. And yet, as long as that hidden error exists, that doubling, that misplaced strike, that oddity in the design, their value skyrockets beyond comprehension. But here's the cliffhanger no one expected: the year 1978 also marks the twilight of an era. Just 4 years later, in 1982, the mint changed the composition of pennies forever, switching from copper to zinc. This makes pre-1982 copper pennies not only historically important, but also a collector's prize. And the rare 1978 no mint mark errors? They now sit at the very peak of value, worth up to $1.8 million. Imagine that. One man's pocket change became a mansion. One woman's forgotten jar of pennies became her retirement. And one child's curiosity led to a discovery that stunned the entire community of coin experts. But here's what you need to know. If you're holding a 1978 penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it. Don't spend it. Examine it carefully. Look at the date under magnification. Check for doubling on the numbers or letters. Look for unusual thickness in Liberty or faint misalignments. Study the edges, the rim, even the faintest scratches. Because the tiniest detail could be the difference between 1 cent and $1.8 million, and here's the tragic twist, countless people have unknowingly spent these pennies. Cash registers, vending machines, gas stations, they swallowed fortunes without anyone ever knowing. Which means right now, right this second, some of these million-dollar pennies are still in circulation, still hiding in pockets and purses, still waiting to be discovered. But what if I told you, the chances of finding one aren't as impossible as you think? Thousands of 1978 pennies exist. And while only a few contain that magical error, the odds are better than winning the lottery. And unlike lottery tickets, pennies don't cost you anything to check. They're already sitting in your home, in your drawer, in your change jar. You could be one coin away from rewriting your entire future. One coin away from turning a dusty penny into a life-changing treasure. That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching. That's the fire that fuels the hunt. And that's why the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the most talked about discoveries in modern numismatics. So now, the question is simple. Will you be the one to find it? Will you be the person who looks closer, who doesn't dismiss a coin as just a penny? Will you be the collector whose story inspires millions, the person who proves that miracles can hide in plain sight, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million? This coin almost ended up tossed aside as worthless pocket change, but one shocking discovery proved it could be worth over $2 million. Yes, a single 1987 mint mark Lincoln penny has left collectors stunned, because under the right conditions, this humble copper-colored coin has commanded a value so high it defies belief, up to $2.1 million, a coin so ordinary, so plain-looking, that you've probably handled it dozens of times without ever giving it a second thought. Yet, hidden within its surface lies a secret most people will never see, a minting mystery that transformed a 1-cent coin into a life-changing fortune. Back in 1987, the Denver Mint was striking billions of pennies. It was an age when collectors were not paying much attention to modern coins, dismissing them as unworthy of serious study. But tucked away within those mountains of freshly minted Lincoln cents, a few errors slipped through the cracks. Errors so rare, so unusual, that decades later they are now commanding prices in the millions. But what makes this 1987 penny different? Why would anyone pay more than face value, let alone millions, for something so common? The answer lies in the extraordinary world of minting mishaps, double strikes, off-center designs, and anomalies so shocking that collectors rush to auctions just for a chance to bid on them. One such coin surfaced years after being minted, when a collector pulled it from an unassuming jar of old change. At first glance, it looked like any other worn penny. But then he noticed something strange. The mint mark, the tiny D under the date, looked off. The alignment was unusual. The surface showed doubling, as if the image of Lincoln's face had been struck more than once. The weight, too, was slightly different, a detail most people would have missed. That penny, once verified by experts, sent shockwaves through the collecting community. It wasn't just an error, it was a one-of-a-kind specimen. At auction, the bidding started at a few thousand. Within minutes, it climbed past 100,000. Collectors whispered in disbelief as the number rose higher and higher. By the time the final hammer fell, the coin had sold for over $1 million, but the story doesn't end there. In private sales, rumors began circulating that another specimen, even more pristine, had crossed the $2 million mark. And suddenly, every coin jar, every old coffee tin, every forgotten piggy bank became a potential treasure chest. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. People who had ignored their pocket change for decades were suddenly inspecting every 1987 penny with a magnifying glass. And here's why: the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million can come down to a single, tiny detail, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts revealed that the 1987 Denver Mint had a series of mechanical issues during production. Dies clashed. Mint marks were misplaced. Some coins were struck on the wrong planchets, the blank discs meant for other denominations. These accidents created coins that were never supposed to exist. Rarities so scarce that only a handful are known today. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector, at a small-town coin show, paid just 25 cents for what looked like a slightly off-center penny. He didn't realize until weeks later, under bright light, that the coin bore a dramatic double die error. That same coin later appeared at auction and shocked everyone by selling for hundreds of thousands. Stories like this fuel the dream of discovery, making ordinary people believe that hidden riches could be lying unnoticed in their homes. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The truth is, a valuable 1987 penny won't announce itself. It won't shine brighter than the others. It hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with patience and knowledge to uncover it. Collectors often describe the thrill of discovery as electric. Imagine holding a coin that feels no different in weight or texture, but knowing that it carries a value greater than a house, a car, even a lifetime of savings. That's the allure of the $1 million penny. The answer lies in precision. First, check the mint mark. The D should be closely inspected for doubling or misplacement. Look for signs of repunching, where the mint mark was struck more than once. Then, examine Lincoln's profile. Doubling on the eye, nose, or mouth could mean a rare double die error. Next, measure the coin's weight. A normal 1987 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. But if yours weighs closer to 3.1 grams, it could mean it was mistakenly struck on an older copper planchet, a mistake worth a fortune. But what makes this even more thrilling is that many of these details are invisible to the naked eye. You need magnification, patience, and knowledge. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, but the truth is, you might already have one. Picture it. A coin you dismissed as ordinary. A penny you almost gave away. A coin you might have dropped in a vending machine or handed to a cashier without thinking. That very coin could carry a hidden fortune, if you know what to look for. Every year, more collectors discover shocking rarities hiding in their change. Some coins slip through unnoticed for decades before being revealed. And every discovery adds fuel to the fire, raising the question, how many more are out there? The hunt is what makes this journey so exhilarating. Every time you pick up a penny, there's a chance, however small, that it could be worth not just a few dollars, not just a few hundred, but over $2 million, and that's why the 1987 mint mark Lincoln penny has captured the imagination of collectors across the nation. It represents more than just a coin. It represents possibility. Hope. The idea that extraordinary fortune can be hidden in the most ordinary of places. Check the mint mark. Examine the details. Weigh the coin. Look for doubling, misstrikes, or anything unusual. Most people will overlook these details. Most people will dismiss their pennies as worthless. But the few who take the time to look closer, they're the ones who uncover history, and this brings us to the most important truth of all. The next $1 million discovery isn't locked away in a museum. It isn't hidden in a vault. It could be sitting right now, unnoticed, in your pocket, your wallet, or your change jar at home.